Welcome to the University Network TV, where we scan the globe to give students, their families, and educators the very best tips for student success. I'm your host today, Dr. Crystal Rose, and on this college consulting show, we're exploring the hidden curriculum in our series on academic navigation, dealing with imposter syndrome, Part 1. What is imposter syndrome? Feeling out of place, like you don't belong, but you do. It's complex. It's associated with a higher level of attrition, students dropping out. Maybe you've experienced this. But do you know how to navigate this experience to get what you need to see yourself with different eyes, that you do belong? For these series, we've invited a very special guest, Dr. Loren Hill. She is dedicated to helping others achieve their highest potential through her company, Acclivity. Welcome, Dr. Hill.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose. It's my pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you for joining the show with this timely topic on imposter syndrome, Part 1. How would you define imposter syndrome broadly?
There's lots of research currently about imposter syndrome, but what people may not realize is that the research in this area started in the 1970s with women, and sometimes you'll hear it as imposter syndrome, and sometimes you'll hear it as imposter phenomenon. And it really is about feeling like you're in a space where you don't deserve to be, even though everything else may point to your deserving to be there. You really start to feel inadequate, like you don't measure up. There's not a space for me here. I don't see anybody else who looks like me here, right? So that can be very daunting.
You shared a bit for situations that could exacerbate this feeling of not belonging, particularly when in academia. But what are some of the other situations that could really make this feeling worse?
Some of the other situations that can make it worse are when you really don't have support. So it could be in higher ed, it could be in the classroom, it could be in the corporate room, it could be in any space where, particularly if you're one of the marginalized populations, that you then start to say, wow, I don't know if this was created for me, and I don't even know if I belong here. And then the environment may do some things that don't support you, right? You don't have an ally in the room. You don't have anyone calling out certain injustices. And so this can exacerbate it.
What are some of the common reactions when students are facing these feelings? You called it imposter phenomenon, or even, imposter syndrome.
So some of the common things that happen are that people will withdraw, right? You start to turn inward. You feel like, I don't belong here. You're questioning yourself. You just don't see any support. And then you just say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be here at all.
And what are the dangers?
Well, the dangers for the individual are that your self-esteem may be impacted. You start to question everything you do. And I would say that there's some mental health outcomes that are negative. But even globally, Dr. Rose, if you are silent and you leave, then guess what? The place misses out on your contribution. So whether that's the classroom, the boardroom, the faculty senate, if you're not there, then your contribution is totally missed.
Very impressive. Thank you for sharing with us breadth and depth of how this can happen, the different type of experiences. So people, if you are experiencing this, stay tuned. Part 2, we have some tangible ways to address this. Thank you, Dr. Hill, for this excellent discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rose.
Can't wait for Part 2. And thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the University Network's television show. I'm your host, Dr. Crystal Rose. Until next time on TUN TV.